Yo, 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 yo. Fellas, how you doing?
What's up? What's up? How's it going?
What up?
Yeah, real quick before we get started, what we should do? Number one, we're definitely going to add in. Well, actually, if you're listening to this in a podcast, you'll definitely hear kind of like the AI intro they were created. We should let the fans, decide if they like it, love it, like hate it, everything. And then it was a completely AI generated. The music was created with what was the music? What we do the music through?
Was it Suno?
Suno.
No, the other one. Starts with an S. Wow, I'm going blank. Well, the voice was 11 Labs.
Yeah.
And the music, the tag, the prompt and stuff was created with ChatGPT. And then the music was done with oh man, it starts with an S. That's going blank.
I thought it was Suno.
No,
Or Suno.
it's
yeah, but no.
There's a different one.
It's the other one. My phone's over there. Anyway, but yeah, we should definitely let you guys decide, and so we can keep it, scrap it, start it over, and stuff like that. Anyway, guys, man, welcome back. Episode two, AI with friends, man. This has been exciting, and also too, happy we crossed over 100 listens, already, on for EP1, man. So definitely thanks for you guys for tuning in and listening. So want to keep it going and stuff here, man. I am one of your hosts, Marlon Avery and stuff here, man. I'm gonna let the fellas introduce themselves as well. Adrian, man, kick it off for us.
What up? I got the answer. Stable diffusion.
It was Stable Diffusion. Yeah, we did
Yeah.
Stable Diffusion for the music. Appreciate it.
Yep. Hey, how's everyone doing? I'm Adrian. I'm head of tech at Distro Nation, and overall AI enthusiast, nerd, builder, hacker, whole 9 yards, making it work. That's it for me.
Yep. All right, I'll go. So hey everyone, I'm Sekou. I'm the cloud engineer extraordinaire working over at Pinterest. I'm a AI enthusiast, always looking to learn new things and share all my ancient history around tech with folks.
And that's why we call you the wise.
Right. The wise, the one he's starting to believe. And I guess I'm Marlon Avery, AI practitioner here, AI enthusiast as well. We're in a company called AI Impact where we do training, and also too we do building and consulting too as well for AI solutions. And so yeah, guys, I'm over here in DC. DC is a vibe, and stuff over here. DC is definitely it's been a vibe, man. It's been welcoming. They got some fun things that kind of going on and stuff into the city too as well. Adrian, man, you said you're not too far from DC too as well, right?
Not too far at all. I'm about 3.5 hours away.
And Sekou, you was considering, wasn't DC one of your cities that you was considering?
Oh yeah. DC was definitely one of my cities. Yeah, it's just it's a lot of driving in DC. It's a lot more driving in DC than there is in the Bay Area. Like you really,
really?
You can't just jump on the train to get where you gotta go, right?
Yeah, the metro. It's not popping.
It's the metro, but everyone lives far out. So, but yeah, I love DC. The food, the DC go-go,
I'm not ready. I'm not ready for the DC go-go.
Yeah, no, DC's been fun. I've been up here a few times. They've always kind of like welcomed me in. I've done a few workshops up here. I spoke at a conference yesterday too as well. That was awesome. And so yeah, man, it's been interesting. It's definitely got a great energy. And I already know a bunch of people, not a bunch of people. I know a good enough people and stuff right here that's doing some awesome work, in tech and government and things like that. And so yeah, man, it's been good. But yeah, man, let's cook it off. Last week, man, we had some great conversations. We talked about everything from AI phone agents, everything to the California bill and stuff what's going on. And so we're there. Eventually we'll have discussions around the AI EU Act too as well. Probably next week and everything. But there's some popping things stuff going on this week, man. So let's dive into it. OpenAI announced Omni 1 and Omni 1 Mini. For me, kind of a shock, because also we've been kind of like waiting for the anticipation GPT-5. And so, guys, what's your thoughts? You know what I'm saying? They OpenAI announced that basically this is the first step, to proper reasoning within, artificial intelligence LLMs. And so I say right now, I think on a PhD research level, and it kind of take thought process through steps, everything organizes, and kind of give you more efficient and proper responses there. Sekou, man, kick us off, man. What's your thoughts?
Oh, I'm loving it. I'm loving it. I burned through my allotment of requests in like the first 15 minutes before realizing there was like an end to the request. But luckily they open it up so I think you can get up to, I think it's like 50 on preview, if not mistaken. And maybe the same thing for mini. But it's way smarter. It can actually give you a lot more substance. But you still kind of get to the same place in some ways. Like I was looking at I think it was a meme of someone doing a whole bunch of skateboarding tricks and eventually like hitting their head, right? It just means you can do more tricks before you hit your head. Essentially with that.
Oh, that's great. I'll take that. I'll take that. Even if I was skateboarding.
Yeah.
Even if I was skateboarding, I would take those odds.
There's a couple more things. And same thing. Same place though.
If I can land a kickflip, yeah, I'll fall.
We pushed out, the component of concussion further out, so give you a little more fun and stuff here. I didn't know that it had limits on it. I haven't hit any limits yet on the ChatGPT side and everything. I've been messing with it as well. So yeah. And they might have removed them too as well. So who knows?
Yeah, they adjusted it pretty quickly when they saw folks kind of burn through that initial allotment that they gave out.
Yeah. Adrian, what's your thoughts?
Well, I mean, you mentioned before that it's comparable to like a PhD, professor, someone who holds a PhD there. I have yet to try it, but I would say that what I'm using now is like a teenage intern when it comes to the AI stuff, where I really have to prod a lot, and just short of encouraging it to get really what I want sometimes. I've been doing a lot of experimental things with that, like even within the my IDE code itself, opening up just a commenting section and turning that into a chat interface, which I saw used and I had to replicate, which was you just open up a block of comments and then type user : your question, and then hit line return, type AI : and it'll finish it, and then that'll start a chat interface right there, where you could ask more specific questions instead of just relying directly on Copilot, out of the box. It's like a weird sideways engineering approach. That's kind of cool.
Here's one of the things I realized. I used it quite a bit and stuff already, but I typically don't go watch some of like OpenAI's like preview videos or video stuff they walkthroughs they typically do. I'll look through something like the documentation, the research, or like the documentation. But I went to go watch some of the videos, and specifically I was looking for how they was prompting on the new model. And one thing I noticed very quickly is that it wasn't the kind of like the prompting strategy that we're used to. So things like assigning the roles, giving details. It seemed more like pseudocode, in a way. And so this is additional question stuff here. Do you think prompting has shifted already, and we're going to see more so like pseudocode workflow and instructions kind of going into it? And before you answer that, let's take it with you. Tell the audience what a pseudocode is, and then answer the question.
Yeah, pseudocode is generally when you're writing the expression of what the code would do in layman's term, you're not actually writing code that would run, but you're giving instructions on the flow that you should take. And maybe to answer the question, I feel like to get the best responses out of ChatGPT, like I found myself like setting like schemas so it can give me output in a very particular way and putting certain information in the middle and like the first initial prompt. Feel like I'm still kind of doing that, and actually I found myself actually doing it a little bit more if I want to get the best out of it. But the thinking portion on Omni, where it's actually like taking multiple actions, is I would say it actually feels a little bit less predictable right now because it's so good.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting. It's like the fact that like you ask it a question, you give it all these parameters, it'll see what you said, ask itself some questions, make a decision, maybe ask itself some more questions, and then finally give you like a doctored output. I think that changes the game, I think. So
Interesting. So because I'm sure I'm not the only one who's seen this, that the GitHub repository of like awesome prompts, is that just out the window? Is that going to be something that's going to be, still usable?
I feel like
I
you
don't
got to
think-
change strategy a little. So
I don't think it necessarily be out the window. I think you still may start with the first line, line or two in your thing as the prompt descriptor, and then you're kind of like filling in from there the steps and like the pseudocode, after that of like what you want, to see of your output. I've tried both like strategies, and what I've seen so far is like, still kind of like giving it a role of like, hey, I want you to act as such and such, and then kind of like following what they did in the video. It's like, giving like that pseudocode, like steps or thing. I've seen good results and stuff for that. But I mean, it's still like LLM and everything. And so I'm not sure if we've moved away from that stuff as of yet, but I can definitely see a direction that we eventually will.
yeah, but when it's wrong, using it is spectacularly like it's like it's doing flips and cartwheels while it's wrong.
Oh my
Adrian, you made an interesting comment earlier. We was offline and stuff here. You said it feels like Omni is what what's name promised to be. What was the tool of the platform?
Auto GPT, and I was talking about Omni in combination with the Replit agents.
Oh,
Replit conversation. Yeah. Sekou turned me on to that, and
that's my new favorite thing. Oh, it's so good.
And like, actually, let's dive into this. Sekou, tell us more about what you've been experiencing yourself with the Replit AI agents and things like Cursor, as well.
So Replit uses AI agent is essentially where you have different agents where they are tasked with doing different functions in order to accomplish a single task. So if I say, write me a book, there'll be an agent for writing the actual book that's only focused on writing. There'll be an agent that's focused on making sure that the grammar is correct. Agent that's focused on copyright. All these three agents produce one output.
Wow.
So Replit essentially does that, but does it with code. And it's actually pretty dang good. They have a pretty nice interface where you can go in there, you can put in a prompt, and it feels like a new way of coding in a way. You're not actually coding because you're like giving instructions, but you're massaging what the final output is through prompts. And I've been able to create some very useful things using this, and it's just surprising how easy it is to use. Like I might have like a page worth of conversation to get there, but the amount of code that gets produced, it actually creates files, it will import libraries, It will swap between different languages. If you're doing front end code or back end code, it will do the whole thing for you, which
Beautiful.
is, yeah, that's probably the best implementation I've seen so far has been Replit AI. Yeah.
Adrian, what's your thoughts on the Replit? I know you say you started getting into it yourself, but the combination of things, especially what we're seeing with the Replit and also too just like Cursor and other IDEs and platforms.
Yeah. As far as the Replit thing, the Replit system, I remember being frustrated with Auto GPT in that it would just go off the rails
quickly,
very quickly.
Yeah,
it would go off the rails and do its own thing. Where it feels like that has become a lot more tighter in a system like Replit, like what Replit has. In the IDE side of it, I'm a creature of habit. So I'm still using predominantly VS Code to do a lot of my work. But my experiences with Cursor and just how much better and faster that is has been great. It's been really great. It's been making my days a lot less frustrating.
I think the leap between GPT-3 and GPT 3.5 was the embedding of starting to understand coding, and that kind of like gave us like a baseline interest of reasoning, too, as well. But also too, I think that was like the foundation of what we're starting to see when it comes to things in like workforce and automation, how it can be an assistant, to us. And so, you guys, do you think we'll start to see, Replit type like AI agents for other industries and everything? So like for product manager agent, for UI, for taxes, for just like entrepreneur assistant. What's your thoughts and stuff there? I mean, this is just kind of like V1 of the world we're about to see, with the agents and stuff. What's your guys' thoughts?
I would say, agents. I think that looks like a product. I haven't seen a lot of things that are truly a product. Some things are, cool emojis or changes, like small little surface area changes, but this is probably one of the most substantial things I've seen. So companies being able to integrate AI agents into their workflow to be able to like augment and work beside an actual engineer, just like the example I showed you of like writing code through prompts and essentially just doing the entire workflow without actually having to write the code I think that's huge. Imagine doing the same thing for a legal document. Imagine applying that to creating banners for a site or something like that. Like, yeah.
Adrian?
Yeah. I don't even know where to start. I mean, I feel like what I get the most excited about, yes, agents are the future, but the splitting up, what you mentioned earlier, Sekou, about you put in a prompt and then you have front end agent, a back end agent, maybe a QA agent as well. I mean, I'm a solo developer. I've been a solo developer for a very long time, and I'm working on a rather large project now where I'm wishing I had a team. And sometimes, I'm kind of reaching those like crossroads because it's just so much to do when you're thinking about even a website that doesn't do that much. Of course, I decided to do a streaming music one, but that's my own ambitions, I guess. But how that just changes the game. I'm from the startup world, and you need to really burn the candle at both ends, because a lot of the times just it's a startup, it's a small team. You got to just make it work. You got to bootstrap from one milestone to the next. So
Yeah.
that makes me excited.
So with the combination of all those things, like I said, I think software engineers are typically some of the first, ones who kind of like get to see the full benefits and stuff of these things. But I think also, like you said, from the legal aspect, from the design aspect, from the QA aspect, I think we'll start to see, more agents. And speaking of agents, man, Slack announced that basically they're about to turn it into an agent hub. They said the head of Slack, Denise Dresser, tells TechCrunch that she is shifting the business to a chat platform and into a work operating system, specifically by making Slack a hub for AI applications, from Salesforce to Adobe to Anthropic. The company CEO sees Slack as more than a workplace to chat with your coworkers, and they announced several features on Monday for a pricing tier of the messaging platform, announcing Slack AI. So, guys, what you think? Slack is going to get into the aspect of, say, they're going to become an AI agent hub, for obviously for several businesses, for several organizations. Adrian, man, we'll start with you. What's your thoughts?
I think it has the perfect bones to carry that, man. There's already so many extensions you can add into Slack already. That seems like it makes a lot of sense. It makes me, within the corporate environment, like within the job, it makes me wonder about which, I got pump faked on this before the last podcast, Marlon, where I thought that I had found some publication about, HR being replaced by AI. Like, that right there is making me, wonder again if there was an avenue by which HR would be, supplemented or, kind of like augmented by AI, it would be through a chat interface like that potentially. But also it could be for annoying job surveys as well.
It's interesting on the HR side of things. I've learned very quickly, depending on the industry, depending on the company, that the definition of HR within the company can be extremely different per company.
Sure.
And so I won't say any names, because we're trying to, build out a platform and stuff here. But it was a company I worked for quite some time ago, and I quickly realized that HR was basically the mafia of the company. And they were there to protect the company and the company, alone. And so when it comes to the intersection of, agents, replacing HR and everything, I see a lot of benefits. I see some things, depending on what the company wants the AR to represent. I see it being challenges and stuff in those ways. But I also see, agents definitely being able to support tasks, things like payroll and, figuring out how to, submit a anonymous, feedback, from, an employee to your manager to, whatever it may be. And so I see some benefits up there and how, these AI agents definitely can support that. I think also too, just having the definition of HR per organization makes it even more challenging and difficult. So yeah, Sekou, I'm not sure if we're allowed to say, but you used to work for that wasn't Slack directly, was it? Or was it like they got acquired?
No, it was Quip who got rolled into Slack. Oh, somewhat. Well, yeah, pretty much it got rolled in Slack. I think so. The Slack has a pretty huge advantage, right? With the integrations that it has, the workflow engine, but not just that, but they have access to actual real data, which is the hardest part, right? Of some of this. So they're already positioned, I think, to actually kind of like to kind of win this. It's just really how comfortable they get folks to use their technology. Like there are I feel like there are a lot of good benefits to Slack. Like I think everyone has had the situation where you're working at a company, you knew you got to like ask around like, hey, what does this acronym mean? Or how do you do this? Like just your onboarding process,
Right.
right? And it's usually like, someone gets sending a message, someone creating a doc that automatically gets like outdated the day that you actually write it.
Right.
And
or it doesn't exist at all.
Or it doesn't exist at all. But there's a giant knowledge base of information that is inside of Slack channels. Like if you're able to connect that into like use cases that support those parts of the business, I think that's like one of the places that we'll see a lot of good things coming out of that. Other ones like working operations. I think every company I've worked at, we've always had like a idea of like an incident channel, like a place where you have like everyone congregates if something blows up. We all get in one room. We try to keep all of our documents and everything tight inside of there. But it's like you can only keep so much context. When it's time to like replay how you did things, it's always it's challenging. Like, boom, drop AI bot inside of there, correlate that information to a living document, not just things you write to get outdated as soon as you write it. So yes, there's a lot that you can do with that. So I'm super excited. But there's the other side of the HR part we were talking about. Like, for every good thing you can do with AI, there's a shadow, right? There's always that shadow. Someone's going to do something that's unethical or just creepy to do to employees. So I'm just waiting to hear the first story, the first lawsuit. And hopefully Slack Salesforce kind of has their act together on how to like mitigate those type of things, or make so folks can at least trust the environment. So
I also see this as a play where Slack can become even more competitive with companies like Microsoft Copilot, with tools like Microsoft Copilot, because guys, we've been having this call now for like over a year or so, and typically we've done it initially on Google, and then we did it for a living for Zoom, and then for whatever reason, some of the most clearest and seamless video operation that we had was Discord, and now we do it on StreamYards, and so integrating something like that, I would imagine Slack would be something similar to Discord, because then we'll start to see teams that starting to meet and just simply into Slack and everything, and using that as their main video meeting platform, and then we're starting to see integrations of AI note taking, even AI project management, taking segments of documentation, doing retrieval information and sending emails to people who are supposed to be in the meeting but they're out of office, things like that. And so I definitely can see how this can kind of like lead them up to a competitor of Microsoft Copilot as well.
Oh yeah, I definitely. Who can get the most NVIDIA GPUs to make that happen?
Is that with these NVIDIA GPUs? Is this a point where it is who has the most money, or this is just straight relationships? Who likes who better? To send out these orders.
Oh yeah, I'm sure it's relationship wise. Like
for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
I think it is. You got to pull up with the leather jacket, You got to join the bicycle club.
Reinserting Blade into the Marvel universe. Roland say here, he says, hey, thanks for describing my monthly issue, constantly rewriting outdated policy docs. Wish I could automate that, man. Roland, we definitely feel you and understand you too as well. Speaking of Sekou, you just mentioned the war that's going on. Hopefully nothing lethal that's going on, but Intel inks AI chip deal with AWS. They announced it too. They're trying to get into the space, as well. And so Intel says they announced a key customer win and challenges to its foundry business. And as a chip maker looks to to execute a turnaround. Intel is taking steps to transition to chip foundry division, Intel Foundry, into a subsidiary. The CEO, Patrick, announced the stuff on Monday. Says the leadership isn't changing and the subsidiary will remain inside Intel, but Foundry will gain an operating board, including independent directors. And so they said they announced a deal with AWS and that they're moving forward to getting into the chip war, if you will. Thoughts?
I think that's so interesting because AWS. This is actually reminds me. We were talking about the what was Anthropic and AWS connection last episode.
Mm-hmm.
And now there's and this is actually almost in the same lines because AWS has their own inference and training chips. It was called Trinium and I think it's Inferentia or something like that. Are the two chips that they have. So, which has always been interesting to me. And they also have their own Graviton chip, what they make, right? So these are I think they're just trying to have options for folks to choose from, because like the NVIDIA stronghold is like they have a huge moat right now. They have a huge moat, and one of the the biggest challenge is like even with their product, you got to choose between, do I want to build a system here that can do training, or do I want to build a system that can do inference? Whereas, like, if I got a NVIDIA GPU, I can do both if I have a good CPU on the same system. And that's pretty huge for folks. I don't have to pay twice for something. So Intel, like, enabling that, I feel like is huge. A smart move on the Amazon side. So, but the question is, what does that mean for their other chips that they have, right?
Yeah. I have so many questions. I'm like,
I was about to say, Adrian, you had a bunch of questions, and I had to kind of put a bookmark and everything. So definitely take us away in this next segment.
All right. So with this deal, what exactly is AWS providing? Are they providing the chips to Intel to be rebranded or to be like a kind of white label as Intel chips? Because as far as I knew. Yeah.
It says Intel has signed a deal with AWS to co-develop an AI chip using Intel's 18A chip fabrication process. Intel has also agreed to produce custom Xeon 6 processors for AWS. Oh, so it's exchange, building on existing partnership between the two firms.
Sweet. So Intel did the manufacturing and the design within the same company before, and now they're spinning with the foundry division. They want to spin off the manufacturing part into its own thing, so that which makes sense because I guess wasn't it earlier this year that some shareholders sued Intel over maybe being not so forthcoming about earnings and their performance and how they were doing.
So
in
watch
foundry
this.
And
you'll enjoy this right here. Gelsinger, wow. The CEO said, we have tripled our deal pipeline since the beginning of the year, describing the AWS deal as a multi-billion-dollar framework that could possibly involve additional chip designs. He added that it demonstrates the continual progress that we are making to build a world-class foundry business. Intel cost-cutting and deal-making, along with a newly awarded $3.5 billion contract to build chips for the Pentagon, since the company stopped soaring over a 6% at market close. It's a bright spot for Intel's otherwise, for their fiscal year. It said Intel posted a $437 million net loss that widened to a $1.6 billion loss in Q2.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. This move is for the shareholders. I mean, this has got to give them the warm and fuzzies a little bit more because it was going down,
Yeah. It says Intel Foundry posted a $5.3 billion in operating losses in H1, despite a slight year-over-year climb in revenue.
Oh man, I feel like I have so many mixed emotions of Intel because, like, the newest chip they came out with, the Lunar Lake, which when Microsoft unveiled all those new Copilot PCs running Qualcomm and there was no Intel AMD, like I knew that hurt. That must have hurt tremendously.
Mhm.
But their rush to get a chip out that can be a Copilot chip has led them to use TSMC to fabricate it. So Intel's not even making their own chips at this point in time, which is
Mhm.
the strangest thing. They outsourced it to TSMC, the same folks who make the Apple's chips.
Okay.
But I don't know. I think I know that they're trying to turn things around, but I don't know. It's a little scary. So
It's hard to do both. I would imagine, like, both things, like manufacturing and design. Nowadays, possibly. I don't have that much knowledge of like the like the landscape there, but I feel like if they would specialize in one or the other, it would be maybe easier for them.
What's the definition of difficult if the contract is $3.5 billion?
I mean, the contract is $3.5 billion with AWS. You said?
No, with what they signed with the Pentagon to make chips for the Pentagon.
Oh,
they gotta
with the
make
Pentagon.
chips.
Well, yeah, you gotta make them then.
You gotta make some chips. Make some chips to do what we need them to do. That's the hard part.
Exactly. Because they haven't there's been a lot of crashing. It's been a lot of like issues with like the chips too.
Yeah.
That they put out there.
Yeah, they have I remember that. Yeah, there's a chip that they recently came out with, a desktop chip that's just been failing pretty bad. Which I feel like we do need Intel to be pretty strong for the US government, at least.
Yeah, I feel like just for really just like the US period, man, like they put us ahead of the chip race, right? Wasn't that the jump start that we needed? And we've been like ahead since then. Or am I making that up?
They were. And think about it. Like if, TSMC is, it's Taiwan, right? It's a Taiwan-based company, right? Which has tons of, issues with China, right? We want to at least make it so that, the chips are being made here, which they are doing. TSMC has a factory in the US now, and all the Apple chips are coming from them. But, still not owned by an American company. So, like, we definitely need a strong AMD and Intel out in the US, I think. So,
NVIDIA is based in California.
Yep, it's in California. It's a U.S. company. Definitely is a U.S. company, which is awesome too. But they're not fabricating in the U.S. So they're all their chips are coming from Taiwan, which hopefully they'll use those factories in the U.S. and Arizona now.
So we got a good fan and stuff here, man. Our friend over there, Sekou. Sekou sent us a request last week, to talk about, man. Fellas, how do you think how will AI automations impact social media landscape, specifically things like YouTube and YouTube Reels? I mean YouTube Shorts, sorry.
I think it's doing it already. There's a giant pipeline of AI generated content that's just being shipped to the social media. I think right now what we are all kind of doing is like taking long form content, slicing it up automatically, and then dicing it up through shorts and things like that. Like that is like the first entry into that. But the next one is like, hey, we don't need to make that long form content. We'll just maybe record ourselves and let something get generated. Like that's the next place we're going. So.
That would be great. That'd be great. But there's a lot of tools out there to get you going. Like I played around with one NVideo. Let me see. NVideo.io is the website. You can create videos with text prompts, and they have a pretty good free plan. I played around with that. I work in the YouTube space, and I try to stay up on what people are doing as far as like generated, really AI generated channels and how they perform. And it's kind of a mixed bag. But the people that got it. They really are getting like probably 200K views per video on a regular basis. But it's few of those. It's very few.
Yeah. This is Marlon A with the practitioner, because I got a build to learn, and just kind of like start doing things. So I didn't talk about this, guys, but I guess I'll say it now. I created a TikTok channel from a bunch of different YouTube videos that is all talking about stories about Kobe Bryant. And
okay.
I just wanted to see.
What? So many questions. I got so many questions. But this is exciting. I have been wanting to do this, man. I got to hear more.
Yeah. So I saw a couple creators talking about basically how they're creating like these faceless, TikTok channels, and they're just making a lot of money and stuff for it, from TikTok's creator program. And I kept seeing it, and I found myself one day going down a Kobe Bryant rabbit hole. Where I would just watch it. I watched like 10, 20 videos, and I was like, man, I gotta get off of this and everything. And so then I was like, I know for sure, if I'm doing this, and there's tons of people who's doing this and everything. And so I just put together, and I use Opus Clips, or Opus.pro, and stuff with it. I use Opus.pro. We'll put the link and stuff in there and show notes as well later. So I use Opus.pro, everything, and created an account, try different videos, put together a little bit of editing and everything. But Opus.pro does a sensational job of taking the video in long form and then creating clips and everything on your behalf. And so then you kind of go in there and you edit per clip. And so it was awesome. And so I created the channel last Saturday. I probably have 8 to 10 videos, over 1,000 views. And so, just talking about Kobe, Kobe stories, from your favorite athletes to, former trainers and things like that. And so I just scheduled out, a bunch of videos to be scheduled out for the whole week. I just want to see how I perform. And as of right now, it's performing very interesting. And it's kind of annoying because that page is getting more activity than my own personal page. But I get it. I get it though. And so yeah, I think it's things like this where we're seeing, AI platforms like Opus or video.ai that will take the continual process of long form to short form, and being able to like link back and stuff. So I definitely think that's one of those things that's not only happening, but it continue happening. And then additional to that, I definitely see a world, guys. Have you seen these AI Instagram models? That there are full pages now. Mm-hmm. I definitely 100% see a world where now those AI models or AI creator influencers will start to have YouTube channels.
For sure.
They will start to talk about different topics and everything. I don't think it's gonna be anything serious or anything, but I think they'll start to show things of like, I can definitely see how they're going to start to create like affiliates, things like that. Because basically then somebody like Burberry will create like digital clothing, for that AI, generated model, that, that person or that, I don't know what to identify it as, but that AI, they can basically start to wear and label to that. And it will just like start to have and I've seen a couple pages now that are, that have like thousands of followers, as well. And so the transition that I definitely can see a world, where, honestly, I think, did we talk about this before? But I also see a world where you're going to start to see on the social media side, fully generated AI podcasts. From topic to automations to using a platform like 11 Labs, and then the podcast itself is just fully AI generated. And guys, honestly, that'd be a fun episode for us to build, a platform or build like a episode like that and stuff here over AI with friends, and let it run, for episode and everything, and see how everybody feel about it. And we may even like start to create AI versions of ourselves that we invite on as guests as we're having these conversations too.
A couple of years ago, there was this, say about 6 years ago, there was this Instagram model that popped up called Lil Miguela, remember that? And then she started to get brand deals, and it was a fake model. Like, I don't know if the body looked real, but the face was like clearly like CG or something like that. But I don't know whatever happened to that. But she ended up getting whoever ran that ended up getting like brand deals and a lot of publication behind that. So the idea of something like you mentioned before, AI models being like, oh, I want that AI model in my campaign is wild to me. It's really wild. But it's totally possible. A friend of mine was also doing generated videos, generating music on Suno, and then creating the videos with it wasn't Stable Diffusion. It was something else he was using. I'll put those in the notes as soon as I find it. But his intention was to create a character like the Study Girl. I don't know if you guys seen those videos where, I don't know if you, like music to study to on YouTube. It'll be a girl with headphones. Lo-fi girl. Yeah. His intention was to create a character like that, to, basically be the background to a bunch of generated lo-fi music, but then they'll also have a story that it kind of follows along, which I don't know if you ever went into lo-fi girl lore. Trust me, it's deep about just whatever theories about that character and whatever she got going on. You can find many videos about it online, but a lot of that makes that a lot more possible now, where before you would need a graphic designer to get that done. Now you could probably bridge that gap a lot faster.
So the AI model Lil Michaela is still around. That platform now has 2.5 million followers, and they just posted something yesterday.
Oh,
wow. Yeah.
So
I don't know who runs that page either.
I actually saw the founders who created it. They were on A16Z podcast. They were talking about it. It was like 2 years ago or something like that. I'll send it to you guys and you can check it out as well. So yeah, it was interesting as well. Okay, so here, Sekou, I want to start with you with this one, because this is something that you've been alluding to. You've been talking about, for quite some time. Stuff here. I feel like if you don't build it first, I don't know if anybody else will. But this idea of artificial intelligence becoming the second brain, for us, and so do you think AI will succeed? Do we think we'll actually see of being like the second digital brain? We're starting to see companies and stuff spin up, who are trying to tackle it. Fathom, they just raised $17 million. We also Notion's been trying to do it. Obsidian, it's been trying to do it too as well. Is Evernote still around? Anyway, and so stuff.
I don't think it is.
So there's a few companies been trying to figure it out, along with our co-host Sekou. What you guys thought?
Yeah, I think it's really interesting where we are right now. Like right now, like you can create the concept of second brain, which just to give the audience a little bit more detailedness. The idea is that you have a second brain is like a notepad, another place to store information that relates to your own thoughts. that you can either come back to and either reminisce on it. But the AI association to the second brain is when not only can you record your thoughts, but you can be reminded of them. And you can also search the thoughts to be able to search your second brain to be able to pull out relevant content to your life. So yeah, I feel like we're getting there. Like right now, like there are a lot of hobbyists out there who are building tools to support that. I'm doing some of that work of like, back in my Evernote days, I used to I remember having a port between
Wait,
Evernote.
Hold on, the using of Evernote, or you used to work for Evernote, or both?
No, I didn't work for Evernote. That's actually one document storage place I did not work for. But I was a heavy Evernote user, and I had a lot of information. Excuse me. I had a lot of information stored in Evernote. I continue to do it like throughout my career of like just taking notes, great aha moments, things that maybe I've never implemented, things that I ended up, moving to some type of major design from. And then of course Evernote like deteriorated and died. So I had to move to something else. So I moved to OneNote. And that was terrible.
Yeah, that's backwards, man. You on the OneNote, yeah. Uh-huh.
I know, but it was the ability to kind of sort my actual thoughts and categorize them by time. Like it had the best tagging system, right?
Yeah.
But it's all connected to being able to search, like just writing things down on a bunch of notebooks that you cannot pull out the information you need or, search for when did I think about this thing? Like you're able to do that. But now I have a little pipeline right now. I'm using this company. It's called Pipedream, which is kind of like a Zapier marketplace for integrations, but they do workflows. And I use my little Apple voice recorder, record my notes, drop it in a little Dropbox, into a Google Drive, and send it to Whisper. Whisper transcodes it.
Embedding.
does some embedding for me. Takes that information, sends it over to OpenAI, and have a very nice prompt that kind of like massages tries to get more depth into what I've talked about while also maintaining the actual transcript itself. And then I drop it into my Notion. And now I have it to kind of pull it up. It tags it for me, which is great. That's also a huge part of like being able to make your personal notes searchable, is having a good tagging strategy. That's all being done by AI now, which is great. Like if I'm doing this like on a weekend, imagine what like 20 people are doing right now trying to like solve this. So
right.
Yeah. Ever since you brought up the second brain thing, Sekou, like I've been like losing sleep a little bit over it because I'm like, how would I do that? And I know that my brain is weird. You know what I mean? My brain is very weird. I was a hardcore user of Evernote. I remember leaving a job and I was like, hey, look, all the documentation's right here. Like I have it right here. It's all laid out. And when they receive the documentation, it's like they could maybe distill I would say maybe 30% of it as like usable. Which is, I mean, it wasn't bad, but it was just like, I would get a text like, I can't believe you're asking me this question. It's right in the Evernote. It's right there, I have been over the weekend. I had an idea about what my second brain would be, and the idea I had was a Chrome extension that would allow me to it would track what I'm researching, and it would have some kind of chat or text interface so that I can send it off with notes or some kind of like topic of research along with the web page. So I could, sometimes I'm going through the motions trying to get something configured correctly in AWS or something.
Mm-hmm.
And then months later, I'm like, I know I've done this before. How did I figure this out? If the very loose idea of a Chrome extension that would allow me to send the web page to an LLM model along with some other supplemental information, it would allow me to be like, all right, let me just search backwards of this problem that I'm sure I've solved before. It would be huge. But that pipe dream to voice to G Drive to Whisper to Notion, like pipeline you just laid out, man, that was awesome. Like that is really cool. I think I'm going to give that a shot as well.
Yeah, I think I have high hopes for the second brain world that we can live in, and I also have high concerns. The hope side of things is second brain is not only an indication of past memory things that we work on, but now we're talking about being able to hand over, integrate these type of life changes, impacts that can help us overcome hurdles in life. So if we can hand it off into a therapist, an AI therapist as well, that can discover something that we're dealing with currently, that's in our subconscious that happened to us when we were 15 years old. I see that as things that can really help us elevate, think through, move forward and stuff in life. My concerns, and when it comes to AI safety, this is definitely not my focus. But when it comes to things like this, I definitely have high concerns because I also understand how it can be manipulated, to as well.
Absolutely.
And so, even with Mark Zuckerberg writing me a letter a couple weeks ago, admitting that there was a political campaign that was, kind of strong arming Facebook, if you will, to push certain agendas. I think those type of things don't go away. I think it will just start to be manipulated into things and being able to impact people in ways that are not fun, friendly, or even ethical.
Yeah.
And so but also too, I think that's the component of any large technology or large change of technology. People are going to use it for good, people are going to use it for bad, and I don't think you can change that because that is more so human behavior than necessarily than technology. And so how do we stop that? I have no clue. But I do think in this world that the benefits can definitely outweigh the bad side of that, but the bad side can definitely have high impact, and I hope that we don't see that world. But again, there's individuals out there that has that human behavior and stuff within them.
Yeah, absolutely right.
Yeah, I think about that too. And it's also why I want the I want the stronghold that NVIDIA has to go away. The fact that we need their giant GPUs to do these things in the cloud is what stops folks from doing that at home, disconnected, right? I feel like that's such a huge part of this story. The reason why we talk about the fact that we're using these services is because there's no choice. There's no choice to do any alternative. You can't just have a server that's at a psychologist's office or something like that is able to provide this for you. At least not yet. So
yeah. Not yet, but the pursuit of the runnable smaller language model, there's a Gemini Mini. There's people could be sooner than we think. that we'll get something like that.
Yeah.
What's the? I can't think. I'm going blank. What's the terminology when a company owns too much of a percentage of an industry?
Monopoly?
Monopoly?
Yeah, monopoly. Everything.
Yeah.
In this industry, Nvidia is definitely a monopoly. Typically, our country has sometimes fought against monopolies, or made them force up into smaller companies. We saw that happen with AT&T some years ago. Do we think it's needed and stuff now? I know this is a conversation that's not even thought about stuff happening right now. I know some of their competitors and stuff would like that. What's the pros and cons of potentially, if they are a true monopoly, what's the pros and cons of like breaking them up into smaller companies if we need be?
Well, I feel like there's like a difference between monopoly and being the best. Well, I guess they kind of go hand in hand. Being the best innovator, they're the best innovator in this field, right? There are small companies that are building chips that are specifically made to optimize using transformers. Like that's their only task. These chips are. They're not for gaming, not for anything else. They're singular focused for transformers. And if the transformer technology ever went away, they are out of luck. So I feel like there's still competition. That is what the monopoly is. When you are not only there's no competition, but you're making your moat so wide so there would never be competition. I think NVIDIA right now is having a really good 2 years on this, but I think the economics are going to change as soon as the interest rates change. So,
yep, and I think the same thing. Same thing. The anti-competitive practices. If they start to engage in more of that, I would just, suspect, as long as NVIDIA is doing good for the people that like need them, like the larger companies, then I think that they're set. But if there comes a point where they are shutting down competition that could be cheaper and more affordable, then I think they'll start to, government will get involved in.
I'm just remembering something else I saw. Someone said that OpenAI is a wrapper around Azure and NVIDIA. Wow. Right. That's essentially like when you're buying NVIDIA, when you're buying OpenAI or using their service, you are just giving money directly to these two folks. Right. And then of course Azure's platform is like a wrapper around OpenAI, and OpenAI is a wrapper around TSMC. Right.
Yeah.
So I think there's definitely rule. As long as like the TSMC is partners of all these different companies making chips for them, and NVIDIA doesn't own the complete process all the way end to end, I think there's still you can't call it a monopoly until something like that happens. When they own all components of it, I would be very scared.
So from the concept of competition, money being poured into this, also too, Adrian, you just mentioned, even the concept of money being expensive right now. What we are starting to see that definitely hasn't slowed some people down. So, for example, Salesforce just announced that they are doubling their AI fund, everything to invest into companies. They initially announced their first launch of the AI fund. Salesforce AI fund was going to start in June 2023, or a $250 million fund. That increased very quickly to a $500 million fund, and now they just announced a $1 billion fund. On top of that, BlackRock and Microsoft reportedly announced that they are focusing to build a $30 billion AI-focused mega fund. It said the investment powerhouse BlackRock is set to launch a massive AI-focused fund exceeding $30 billion in collaboration with Microsoft and the Abu Dhabi-backed investment outfit MGX. So according to the outlet, the fund among Wall Street largest will focus on creating data centers and funding among energy infrastructure to support AI. chip giant NVIDIA is also reportedly contributing to the expertise around the already energy demands of AI technologies, which are only expected to grow. So there's a lot of money stuff coming in, as well. That is a large amount of money, but also too, I like what Adrian mentioned. Money is also expensive right now. And so, what's your guys' thoughts?
Yeah. Okay. The BlackRock side of it seems to be more just what you mentioned earlier, Sekou, the OpenAI being a wrapper around NVIDIA. The BlackRock investment seems to be focused on the infrastructure and the kind of data center side of it. Let me see if I can find it. But that end of it, so making money that way, which I think is smart. I think that's a good way to do it. And it's crazy how people, when you have a lot of money, you can make big moves like that. You can really cut the, right into the supply chain of a industry and start to make money there, which I think is cool. I think it's a little bit interesting. So Abu Dhabi was part of the what investment fund? That wasn't the BlackRock one, was it?
Yeah, it says the investment powers Black House set to launch a massive AI-focused fund of $30 billion in collaboration with Microsoft and the Abu Dhabi back investment outfit MGX.
Interesting. Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, I think with I don't know. I think folks they're preparing for these interest rate cuts. That's what this is positioning right now. There's like an expectation that when interest rates go down, the while it's going down, there's going to be a talent pool that is going to be more available, right? And the startups are going to, the ability for folks to invest is going to go up, keep going up. The amount of IPOs are expected to, increase over that time. So I think we've been kind of building up for a big amount of innovation. Like the fact that this whole AI revolution and GPTs actually became such a big thing in the middle of a high interest rate environment just means that once money is cheaper, it's going to be crazy. Wow. It's going to be insane the amount of startups and things you're going to see products you go out. Because right now, if you don't have a good balance sheet and things like that, no one is going to spend any time on your startup, right?
Yep.
But in an environment where you can take more risk, burn some cash, be innovative, figure out what you're going to do, right? It's a different world when you don't have that same pressure there, which we've, most of the last 10 years, we've been an extremely low interest rate situation. That's one of the reasons why we've had so many startups IPOing and so much money being thrown around Silicon Valley. So if we get back there or even close to that with all the things that have just happened, this is going to be insane. So,
Sekou, you've been around the industry for quite some time. Can you compare this to a time period that you think we're about to experience? So there's a time period where we saw a lot of growth, within the tech industry or within certain industries, across the board. Do you think we're about to experience something similar, or can you compare that to a time?
So think about when some of these large companies came to be. When Google really came to be, it was after the .com crash, right?
Yeah.
Which also started out as a high interest rate situation. And then as, folks started losing jobs and they wanted to get the economy started up, they lowered the interest rate. Innovation went up. ability for folks to take chances went up. Same thing for the housing crash. When the housing crash happened, we went to extremely low interest rate environment, which is like majority of the large companies that you see were start around there. I feel like we're just going on another cycle, even though there's no recession technically that was attached to this. We're going through a very similar cycle. I think the COVID was technically our version of a recession in some ways. So,
so what I'm hearing is interest rates go down, blessings go up. Cool. That's a good podcast title. That's a good episode title.
Oh, but that's hilarious. Yeah, I think it's gonna be interesting. Like you're alluding to it, because it's gonna be so many different startups, and so I also think so. Even if I think hardware also too going to see a skyrocket of opportunity, which typically those companies it's very difficult to get funding just because the iteration of the process takes longer than software. But like you said, when the interest rates goes down and people kind of like have a little bit more money to play with it, and they also knew these chips and GPUs and stuff were needed, I think we're going to see a lot more funding and stuff around into as well. And also too, I think the back end of this area that we've got to go into, I definitely can see the back end of being this of where we'll start to see the first iterations of in-home robots, because operations and things will be cheaper, and we have a lot more money to store around. And then also too, we already have a knowledge management system with these LLMs that you'll be able to embed and train, and kind of get it to understand things more quickly from communications and everything. And then also too, we'll still just see even more product iteration of things around like computer vision, where you start to clean the bathroom, be able to do the dishes and stuff where it may be. So I think on the back end of this, we'll start to see the first kind of in-house robots to kind of like help us with some of these daily tasks.
Oh, like Rosie from was it Jetsons? Is that it?
Jetsons, yeah.
I'm dating myself now.
I know Rosie.
No, man. I saw somebody put, I think it was Kevin on stage, it was posted a thing saying, who was your first cartoon crush? And they put Rosie. It's like number 7 or something.
That's funny. Number 7.
Okay. Yeah, man, that's hilarious. Cool. Well, fellas, man, we've had another phenomenal, successful show. We got to talk about OpenAI announcing Omni 1 and Omni 1 Mini. Slack is turning into an AI agent hub. Our friend Sekou there gave us an awesome topic around how AI impact automations. How AI automation impact things like social media, specifically including YouTube and YouTube Shorts, and so things that we're starting to see on TikTok as well. And also too, Sekou's favorite topic which is how will AI become our second digital brain. And then Intel X the AI chip deal with Amazon, and also too, there's a lot of money being put up now around AI focused VC funds. And so, guys, man, definitely another great episode. We're gonna put our handle on stuff here, but again, if you guys want to definitely like, comment, subscribe, definitely love to hear more from you, too as well. Eventually we're gonna put in where you guys can kind of like call in to kind of ask you some of those questions too as well, within the show. And so, guys, you guys can follow me, see me on all platforms at I am Marlon Avery. You can see it at the bottom of the screen. Those are listeners, it's just I am Marlon, Marlon, Avery, Avery. All right. Adrian, what about you, man? Give us some of the final words to the people.
Cool. Infamous Adrian on Twitter. You can find me at www.adriangreen.xyz as well.
Yep. And you got me, Sekou. You can find me on Twitch. You can find me on TikTok as Sekou the Wise One. Not the non-wise one out there.
It's funny. It's funny. I think it's going to get to a point of like episode 11, 22, 73, where this can be kind of part comedy show.
Well, I hope AI isn't a joke by the time we get to episode 74. You know what I mean?
Or AI is telling our jokes.
Yeah, that's good.
We'll have our digital twins on here.
There you go.
Telling jokes.
I know, right? Lil Miguela up here.
Yo, that should be a goal. When they go digital, we should invite her as the first AI guest. On the pod.
Oh, that's really good. That's really good. I hope we play this clip back. Let's play this clip back right before we actually have Lil Miguel on. That'd be great.
That's gonna be the intro to the episode, and then we're gonna have Lil Miguel, and I think she's 21 years 21 years old forever. And so
so am I. I'm also 21 years forever.
All right, guys. Well, definitely appreciate guys. You're listening, tuning in. Definitely like, comment, subscribe. Give us a listen stuff. Give us a follow too as well, guys. As always, man, we appreciate y'all, and we are out.
All right, peace.
All right.